everyone feels safe, to build a positive live chat experience for you and your viewers. Choose who can participate. Set a delay between messages. They're teaching me how to moderate my live stream, but I doubt we'll have anybody in here, so unnecessary. Hmm. I do have live streaming capabilities on this one, so we'll go ahead and see. Chat. Hmm. Hmm. What a life, what a lie. Let's see, I guess this will be a good time to I pressed the wrong button. That's for sure. Lighting on, lighting off, green screen off. I can go live with a green screen? Ah. Oh, hell no. You go live with your green screen is your photos. What the hell? Let's see. Underwater? Let's see what this does. They really do got some silly features in here. Mirror side, now I don't know how to get rid of it. Oh, I see. Oh my goodness. I'm not quite sure, There's all kinds of weird stuff on here. Sydney McCallahan, what's going on? How are you? Is this your first time on this channel? Shout my name out. Dishwater. Elliot, yo, am I real? Long time no see, am I real? This is actually, I don't know what's going on here. There's a big explosion of people. Pause. A big explosion of people coming into the channel. Sydney McCallahan, how you doing? I'm all right. And you? Max Downing. Max Downing. I'm going to go ahead and wave to you. Say hi. I don't know what that means. Well, I'm saying hi to you. Dishwater. Shout my name out. Elliot. Oh, your name's Elliot. Why isn't your name Elliot on the platform? It's your first time. Well, welcome. Welcome. This is essentially a brand new channel. I can't believe there's this many people in here communing with me. So, yes, this first new channel live, I'm testing out. They gave me the ability to stream live. So, I'm coming on here and seeing what it's all about. And boy, I've got a much better turn up. My old channel must be shadow banned. My old channel is certainly probably shadow banned. Just in this channel with 80 something subscribers, I already have more viewers in here than in my previous one. That just goes to tell you something, right? I seem like a chill guy. Well, I try to be. You're looking at the authentic, real deal. I am. I get on here and I say how I feel and what I think. And this channel is pretty much about life. It's about, lifestyle. I want to talk about ethics, philosophy and what it all means when it pertains to real life. When people talk about all of this mumbo jumbo, it's all pie in the sky stuff, but I wanted to talk about real life. So if it's your first time, welcome and thank you for joining me. I recently got the ability to live stream. This is a new feature on this channel. I had to wait 24 hours and I wanted to come over here and check it out. What's my religion? That is a good question. I'd probably say I'm a little bit of everything. I'm a little bit of everything. I dabble in it all. I look into Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, the old stuff, Gnosticism, woo-woo New Age spirituality, even atheism somewhere in there. Atheism is a religion, whether or not they want to admit it. So, oh, you're a Christian. Well, how could I leave out Christianity, right? I was born and raised Christian, so how could I have left out, my mother, right? The mother I was raised on. How could I have left that out? Some things we take for granted, right? We take it for granted that's what happens to us in life. We just take everything for granted. Partially everything Am I Real states the same. It is all different flavors of truth. It's truth that has been filtered down through culture. And Christianity is the only religion that leads to heaven. Well, that is what the Christians say. They do say it's the only religion that leads to heaven, and there's probably something to that. I guess it all depends on what you mean by heaven. How big is your worldview? Is heaven heaven may very well be some kind of future, some future kingdom, but who knows? But I do see over here, oh, like the video as you come in. I forgot to mention that. I do see over on this channel there is a large influx and deep, people are bursting in and leaving out. This implies that I am in the YouTube algorithm. That's what that means. Am I real? And some of the people, Puppy Dog, Love, hi, how's it going? How is it going? You can't spam the chat now. I'm going to have to, let's see, community moderation, live chat on, yes, participant mode, message delay. Don't make me cut on slow mode. Come on, man, don't make me cut on slow mode. Please don't spam the chat. I want to keep it civil in here. I don't want it to be crazy, But I am in the YouTube algorithm. I think my other channel was Me Got Hacked. So my name is Rufus. Oh, Puppy Glove, Rufus, hello. Sir Exit, welcome back. I got my people over here. It's crazy how the number of people that are watching me is fluctuating so much. On my other channel, it's just stagnant. That just really goes to show you that my other channel is banned or something. Sir Exit asked, well, I always do 2 live streams from now on. I may just, my attitude I like live streaming. I like coming on here and chit-chatting with everyone. I can obviously see that something is going on with my previous channel. Perhaps I may have to, do something different. I may have to just nuke that channel because it is stuck. It is shadow banned. I guess you could say perhaps it's some kind of dead channel, Perhaps, that's what, when your audience sort of, it's important the kind of audience that you tell YouTube you want to talk to, because these people are pretty much who YouTube thinks is your target audience. And the way that it's going over there, it just appears to be stuck. You see this number, I have 89 or so subscribers, less than 100 subscribers on this channel. Puppy Dog says, are you at your house? Because you can look like you're in a forest. No, oh, that's crazy. I was experimenting with backgrounds. No, I'm actually in a park. I can get up and look, you can see. I'm actually in a park. This is me out in nature, But I was experimenting with backgrounds and, I see you can put a green screen behind. You never know what's real on the internet these days. That is for sure. That is true. I couldn't believe, I can just change my background via some kind of green screen shenanigans. So, Am I Real says my schedule is all out of whack. Depression is a mofo, so I'm not making it into the early lives lately. Well, I'm sorry that you're going through that. Mental health. The title of this stream is Matt says, I'm probably in the Amazon rainforest, If I was in the Amazon rainforest, I would be a lot more uncomfortable. I can assure you of that. Though I am hyper aware, there are creepy crawlies around here, you know. I have to be careful, but am I real? I'm sorry that you're dealing with depression. You know, I trust me, I've been there. I've been there and I'm currently dealing with, my issues, and mental health is real. You know, I was talking about Kai Sinet and he opened up about his mental health, and I titled this stream The Second Quarter. You know, I'm in my second quarter of life. I'm in my early 30s. This is, if you look at life as some people say seasons, right? I call it the seasons of life all of the time. And I'm in my second quarter, you know, if you want to look at it via the lens of sports and entertainment, right? And there's, I want to talk about that. You know, this channel is about life and lifestyle. I want to talk about, what does it mean? You know, how does it feel? You know, what do you do when you're in your second quarter? Sir Exit asked me, how did you get into philosophy and enlightenment? For me, it was Alan Watts. You know, that's how it is for a lot of, I think for me, it may have been Alan Watts. You know, Alan Watts is kind of, people talk about my content and my outlook and attitude. And I guess if you wanted to put me down in history of someone who I would want to be, I want to be that to someone else, right? Alan Watts was sort of the person who initiates us, right? He's like the person who we discover that, illuminates, that kind of activates us. And, the spiritual awakening, right? They activate this latent part of us. And, Alan Watts, I'm pretty sure Alan Watts was, the one who activated me. I think I started with Alan Watts, and then it went on to, I liked a lot of Manly P. Hall. Then, people discovered Terence McKenna. There are all of these great thinkers that the difference between these great thinkers and these people that I'm naming is that they are also great speakers. This is why, people say, why do you sound like Terence McKenna? I'm speaking. Speaking is an art. And when you look up what it takes, I want to be a speaker. This is my art form, to be able to speak. I love to do. Don't you see, I like to get on these lives and just rant. There's 6 people in here. I don't care. I like to speak. And, that's a part of it. Learning, diction, vocabulary, tonality, and speaking with clarity. And every word, when you learn this art, you see that every word that leaves your mouth is important to the person that is listening. You're constructing some kind of reality. Imagine if you're building a bridge and you just build a crappy bridge. No one's going to want to walk across it. When I speak, I'm building a bridge for you to walk across into understanding. And I do a good job of trying to make that bridge as sturdy as possible by using as much context. And I have a lot of people from, that came and I'm glad you guys came over. Water is on my phone, a bottle of water. Well, thank you for illuminating us. And he was an early psychopomp for me as well. I forgot to put do not disturb on. Goodness gracious. Perceive says, hey, I'm lurking here as usual. I'm glad you like live streaming. This particular type of stream isn't the easiest thing to come across. Thank you. Perceive, did you find me via live streams, or did you find me via my channel and just happen to, come over to the live streams? Sir Exits asks, who's Terence? Terence McKenna. He's one of these folks in that mix. Alan Watts, Manly P. Hall, Terence McKenna, I guess some people say Timothy Leary, these people who become, I guess some people say, they're gurus, right? They're, these thought leaders or something like that. But yeah. Let's see. Well, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and put you in timeout. I can tell that you are like a child. You are probably someone very young, but Matthew says, hey guys, I was wondering, should I live stream my high school basketball games on YouTube? I have a camera that connects to my uniform, so kind of POV perspective. I say, yeah. I say, if you can, there's no reason not to make content. I think everything is content. Everything is content, and you never know what video will be the video that changes your life. You know, we are in some kind of time in history where any video can change your life. Any moment that is captured and put, any moment can be captured and put on display for humanity to see. But perceive, I recently got the ability to oh, you came here from the YouTube videos to Paramine to live stream. All good. You know, I'm just trying to have as many, how do they say, as many coals in the fire as I can. You know, as a content creator, you have to have your hands everywhere. You know, I live streamed on Twitch on TikTok yesterday. And all right, bet if I get famous, I'll remember me when you come into your kingdom. You know, do not forget me. but yeah, I live stream on TikTok, and I just want to put myself out there. You know, when you're a live streamer, you put yourself out there. And I recently got the ability to live stream on this new channel. And as I'm on this road to get this channel monetized, live streaming will help that out. There are certain criteria you have to make in order to get the YouTube channel monetized. And you also have to create content so that YouTube knows who to show your video to. You know, if that makes sense. YouTube knows who to show your video to. And, as you can see, this channel, YouTube, is because you can see my live numbers go. When I first started this live, it was at about, it went from like 2 people to 20 something people. And that's about how much I get on my other channel with 40,000 subscribers, right? I get like 20 to 40 people. But on this small channel, I got the same number. And that's because on my old channel, YouTube has pretty much walked away from it. You know, YouTube is, because my audience is my audience, right? My audience is pretty much, my audience has pretty much, they have killed the channel, and because that's how YouTube works. So because this one is new, right? It's like a new baby. YouTube is trying to show it to people. YouTube is saying, hey, are you interested in this? Hey, are you interested in this? And they're showing it around. So my numbers fluctuate. And when people come in here and see, how I'm showing you how we work, right? Irrational. When people come here and see, oh, this is a black guy, I'm not going to listen. Oh, he isn't some naked woman, I'm not going to listen. Oh, da 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 da. And then on this side of the camera, you can see what people want. You see the psyche of humanity. You see humanity in a different way. And you say, oh, this is how we are. This is what we want, right? When I used to be a bodybuilder, when I would just get on here and flex my muscles, people would stop and look because, this is how we are. And then you start to see, okay, well, what does this say about us? What does this say about, politics, right? What does this say about everything? You see how this all trickles down the field. And then you see politics, for example, from a new lens. You start to see, oh, you're full of crap. All of this stuff you're talking about, you're just, you know, uh, a monkey like the rest of us. You're not some smart person who has the solution. You're subscribed to Girls Only Fans too. You're just a monkey like the rest of us. And we're not as smart as we think that we are. But someone asked, has your max what's my max deadlift? Oh, I never reached my max. When I first started, I was into all kinds of, doing like those Olympic lifts, deadlifts and squats, heavy squatting. I think the most that I ever squatted was like somewhere in the 400s, like maybe 450 something pounds, Nothing too crazy, but I just never reached my max. In order to reach your max, it's a whole event, right? You need a spotter, you need to prep. You can't just go in there willy-nilly and do it. And I just like to go to the gym by myself, so I never really maxed out on anything. I sort of saw what my range was, and I just said, okay. But when I body built, I was more so focused on aesthetics. When I first started, it was all strength. I wanted to be a strong man, the strongest guy in the world. But I would go to the gym and there wouldn't be enough weights, right? So I said, oh, well, screw it. And I started to get I was in the military, so there's a lot of running involved in the military, and doing all of that strongman stuff, I couldn't run and it was affecting my career. So I had to let that go. So then I just switched to aesthetics, and Is its own battle. You know, it has its own hurdles. And you know, you're doing strongman, you can just eat what you want. You can just eat spaghetti and whatever. It's all about calories and protein. But when you're going for aesthetics, you have to start weighing your food and counting this and in that, and it's a different beast. Let's see. Do you think planet Earth is a prison or school for the soul? New Age beliefs. Good question. Both. You know, when we send people to prison, they're supposed to learn. You know, that's kind of the goal, right? Rehabilitation, right? Punishment is one aspect, but rehabilitation is another. And our justice system is supposed to do both, right? When you're in jail, you're supposed to learn a thing or two about how to come out and be a good person. To answer your question. Am I Real says, I was watching yesterday's live and happened to check the new channel out for videos, and here we are. YouTube didn't notify me. Well, you know, YouTube doesn't notify. You know, YouTube is, to be honest, YouTube is kind of a, you know, I don't want to talk bad about my boss here, but there are better platforms. We are just, people are stuck here. You know, the consumer is stuck here. They have hacked you. They've infiltrated you. And to get people to go over, I say all the time, I would prefer, let's all just go over to Twitch. It's better for live streaming. It's more private, right? And people don't want to go over to Twitch. You know, they say, I want to stay here on YouTube. I say, oh, well, you get what YouTube gives you, right? If YouTube isn't going to notify you, YouTube is going to show you what they want to show you, and their algorithm is going to, you know, suck you into whatever rabbit hole and whatever. But, you know, I really don't stress about it too much. You know, maybe it sounds like I'm complaining. I study. You know, YouTube and social media is a great window into our consciousness, into our mind. Like, for example, you can see that now my number sort of stays at around 5 or 6, and this is probably all the people from my previous YouTube channel, because the algorithm has already seen, like I titled this stream Second Quarter, so it probably pushed me out into the sports world. It pushed me out into where people are watching sports, and when they clicked on this and saw that it wasn't sports, right, it's this black guy talking, they just went away. So then YouTube say, oh, this isn't sports related, so they stopped showing me to sports, and now it's just the normal crew in here. You see, you just sort of study how all of this works. Sir Exit said, I didn't get notified either on my Android phone. I just happened to see the live stream on my home feed. Well, you know, that's kind of what happens with lives too. It'll be the first thing that pops up. You sort of get priority. This is what all of these content creators do. They study the way that these platforms operate, and they adjust accordingly. You're a freshman and your max is 375 pounds with a belt and a spotter. Or for squat. Oh, that's good, man. That's good. I don't know what your goals are, but that's a good number. You know, when I was a freshman, I couldn't do that. When I was a freshman, I was completely out of shape and, you know, morbidly obese. And I didn't really start getting into lifting until I graduated high school. But I did graduate high school young. I graduated at 17. Your goal is you're pretty much there then. You know, you're pretty much there. I do want to talk about fitness and health and diet and exercise and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's a good goal. You know, 400. I just say lay off. Don't do any gear, man. Don't take any gear. Just stay natural. You know, your body has a genetic limit, and it's that limit for a reason, man. Don't fool around with your hormones. You know, just stay on the straight and narrow. You know, that's kind of what I realized as I went into my fitness journey. You know, word of advice, eat healthy, lift healthy, right? Correct. Well, one of my things that I noticed when I reached I sort of hit my genetic potential. I reached the limit that my genetics would allow me to go. And I saw that to go beyond this would require some kind of unnatural assistance. And that's when I saw, you know, everyone in the fitness industry is just on steroids. You know, these people, once you get to that space where you sort of see what the human body is naturally capable of, then it becomes easy to see, oh, this guy's on gear. You know, no, even women, right? Well, women are on gear too. You know, when you see they're shredded all of the time, they don't have any baby fat. You know, they're just all cycling on hormones. And talk about being inauthentic, right? Am I Real says, I'm digging this new channel idea. I thrive on the world of ideas, but fail miserably to apply it to a grounded existence. Yeah, I actually came across a TikTok where someone was talking about that, where they were pretty much saying at the end of the day, you have to play the human game. You know, you go to this realm, whatever, you want to take whatever substances, but at the end of the day, you have to come back and be human. And, you know, that's kind of what I was when I came out on my other channel, right? When I stepped in front of the camera, you know, I that's what I kept saying. I want to apply metaphysics to real life. I want to be of service to people to show that no, this isn't just pie in the sky. It's real, you know. It's real in health. It's real in relationships, you know, romance. It's real in politics. It's real. And you once you see it, you know, once you're activated, you see it everywhere. No hormone. That's good. That's what I plan on doing. That's what I'm doing. And I can throw a baseball 76 and hit a man. So you're an athlete. You know, I played baseball was like my first sport. My first, I never liked baseball. I played it for many years, you know, not of my own free will, but, you know, baseball is, when you're good at it, baseball feels great, you know, when you're good at it. And baseball is one of those sports, you know, hand-eye coordination. And you can throw a 76-mile-an-hour fastball. That's good. You know, that is good. Baseball, if you could go pro, it pays out. It's like one of the highest paying sports. So there's that. Sir Exit asks, do you plan on writing a book about your metaphysics? I would be hella interested to read that. You know, this idea of formalizing my metaphysics, that's kind of my attitude when it came to writing a book. So this is one of the things that I thought about in the beginning. And I started several times. I have like several drafts in my laptop of different books I was going to write, but I learned, I saw, I studied that nobody reads anymore. Reading is like this niche hobby. You know, reading, if you, I keep saying that I don't want to be right. I want to be understood, right? I want my message to reach as many people as possible. And I saw that in order to do that, spoken word is the best way. Spoken word is much more embedded within us than writing is new. Speaking isn't. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Writing is very new, a new technology for us, but speaking isn't. It goes way, way, way back. And I guess you could call, you know, Paramine, right? My body of work. That is my body of work. You know, it's like, speaking of Alan Watts, right? Terence McKenna, these people, who's read their, not very many people have read their books, but we all know what they sound like, especially with AI, right? They're taking these people's voices and repurposing them. And we all know what they sound like. We've all heard them speak, but not very many people have read their thoughts. You know what I'm saying? So that's just kind of right. Sir Exit says, Alan Watts wrote books. Crazy, isn't it? This is how we are. You know, this is how we are. I've sort of stopped fighting against humanity. You know, there's the way that we wish it was, and then there's the way that it is. And you just have to learn to accept us for what we are. We are, you know, monkeys. We are primates. We are lazy. We don't like to work hard. We don't, you know, we want to use that's how nature works. We want to use as little energy possible to achieve whatever. You know, that's how you can see that human beings are some kind of vehicle for knowledge. It's some kind of vehicle for nature. Nature is using us. That's how you can tell that nature is using us. We aren't in control of this process. Nature is in control of this process, and it is using us for some mysterious ends, you know. If you want to say, you know, we're building, someone say Christianity is the only way to heaven. If you want to say it's building a bridge to heaven, I don't know. But when you look at our nature, you can clearly see we do what nature tells us to do. And nature says, don't use as little energy as possible, you know, to accomplish this task. And that's what we do. You know, it's kind of like that. That is funny. Alan Watts wrote books. Oh man, if I wasn't on the field, I would be so bored, he says. That's how it was with the gym. You know, I was a gym rat. You know, I would just, how I'm going live now, like if I have some free time, I just say, oh, I'll just go live because that's what I like to, I work my mouth muscles, pause. But before this, it was the gym, right? It was, oh, I have free time, let me go get a good workout in. And that's what I would do. But As you get older, speaking of the title of this video, I called it Second Season. As you get older, your priorities change. You know, there is a shift in priorities, and I'm currently grappling with, you know, what does it mean to be in the second season of your life? Jungian AI slop everywhere, that's for sure. It will be like that for everyone. Same with Jung, right? Lately, there have been a lot of AI videos of Alan Watts on YouTube. It's not him, but the voice sounds like him. And you'd be surprised at the amount of people who believe that it's him. You know, there's this viral YouTube video. I forget, it's some physicist, you know. I think it's some passed away physicist. I forget his name, but pretty much someone has taken his voice and his likeness and repurposed it, and they're making YouTube videos that, you know, it isn't him saying those things, but it's some kind of sciencey topic. And the video got like 1 million views in a few weeks. It went viral right on YouTube. That is very viral. And the guy's probably making tens of thousands of dollars making that content. But it's not the guy. And people believe it's the guy. You know, I keep telling you that it's aesthetics. That for people who want to believe, for people who where physics and science is their thing, right? That's their God, if you want to put it like that. You can deceive them like that with this magic trick, because it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's related to science, right? This is a hack to algorithms. I don't know if you guys know this. On Instagram, it's rampant with this. Someone will put physics in the, you know, it's like some masculine macho music, right? This brooding music. And then on the screen, they write physics. And then they're just showing all of this bull crap that has nothing to do with physics. But because that's what the algorithm wants and wants to push out, it's going to push it out. Or people on Instagram, they'll put within the description of the video, they'll put all the Ford 1998 Mustang is this kind of car and da 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 da. You know, they're doing that to trick the algorithm, because the algorithm serves us the aesthetic that we want to live by. You know, the algorithm pretty much creates it's an echo chamber. This is what they say. It forms an echo chamber. It constructs your cocoon that you want to live in of safety, so you can make yourself feel like you're right and safe. You know, once you see that we're manipulable like this, you know, it changes a lot. But on this channel, I just wanted to, you know, come on here and flex my live muscles and take advantage of this new ability of this channel to go live. You know, after this video, because this channel is so new, there won't be a playback. It automatically like privates the video. You know, you can't post the playback. And YouTube makes your channel go through all of this criteria before you're able to do what I do. But you see, you know, you can kind of see. All of my folks have pretty much left the building. It's just one of you guys in here. But this was a 30-minute live. Oh, it's a good time. You know, 30 minutes is good. So I'll go ahead and cut it off here.